Welcome to Queer Next, the podcast that puts the yeehaw in y'all means all. I'm your host, Beck.
And I am your host, Dash. Welcome to today's episode. Has there been any Toledo area redneck activity recently that you've seen?
There's always redneckery going on in Toledo.
What kind of redneckery?
I follow this page on Facebook called the Nosy Asses of Toledo, Ohio. They post all the drama. There's tens of thousands of people in this group. My favorite story about Toledo ever was when the 3 different steak and shakes got shut down and they held a candlelight vigil in the parking lot.
That's what we would do if a Waffle House went down.
Yeah.
Or 3 Waffle Houses.
I passed one of those steak and shakes the other day and it made me laugh.
Is it still closed?
No, they're open again, believe it or not, but I still wouldn't eat there.
Maybe somebody performed a ritual at the vigil and it raised from the dead.
I wish we had the rating system that like New York City and places like that have where they have to post it in the window.
They don't do that there?
No.
They had to, well, and I don't know if it's law or anything, but everybody does it in Kentucky.
I've never seen anything like that in an Ohio window.
Oh, hot damn. That's disgusting.
Yeah. You never know what's going on. My grandmother, the doctor that she was a nanny for, small town doctors do a lot. And she was like the county coroner. And she also did some of the health department activities. She would let her kids eat at the local Chinese restaurant. That's the point I'm trying to make. And my grandmother wouldn't let me eat there either. I did anyway because it was delicious. What are you going to do? Not let me have my sweet and sour chicken? Whatever.
Did she know something, or was this a kind of like Orientalist? She assumed that it was dirtier than others.
I think it's both. I think that they probably had some health code violations, which is very easy to do when you have a restaurant, have a knife in the wrong place or leave a bin in the warmth for too long.
Because I've worked in a shit ton of restaurants. Those things, you sit something on the floor that doesn't have anything to do with food, and you can get dinged, right? You sit a bin on the floor. Yeah.
Or if like you use a cup to get ice out of the machine instead of the scoop.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's all kinds of little things. So, just because they had, a report from the health department doesn't necessarily mean they were dirty. But I believe my grandmother was definitely or some Orientalism for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because she lived through World War II and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
I say those words a lot, things like that. I wonder if anybody has caught on to that. I noticed it the last episode, so I'll try to quit doing that.
You have no idea how many ums I have to cut out. I think that's just how people talk, though. I think anymore that's a big feature of our speech are those kind of placeholders. I knew a guy in college who he didn't say he didn't say like, he didn't say nothing. He said fucking every. You know anybody that does that?
I want to say my sister, but she's not that bad.
So he'd be trying to come up with something. He'd be like, fucking, It's like, where in God's name did a habit like that come from?
Are you sure he wasn't Appalachian? My sister and her kids have the worst mouths you have ever heard. I have two of my nephews are autistic, but Jacob is my sister's. And he was very mild-mannered, very polite, wouldn't say shit, wouldn't say all kinds of words. And now they've got him flipping the bird and saying F you and just not being himself whatsoever. I think it's unbecoming. I mean, it's kind of funny, but then again, he's going to get in the wrong situation and say the wrong thing to somebody.
Right.
It just worries me.
Well, yeah, because like people of color, neurodivergent people are subject to just reactions from authority figures, not equivalent to whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah. And Jacob is pretty. He'll never live on his own. Let's put it that way. He'll always need some supervision and that kind of thing.
Well, we did something. There was something pretty redneck we did here this past week that it was cool to see. It was the first thing since I moved here, seeing something that kind of reminded me of the kind of shit that we do back home. The facilities team leader for our student union passed away suddenly.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's real sad, right? And he was not a young man, but certainly not an old one. He was, I think, low 60s. And we saw him on Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning, he had passed in the night. I went in, and the director of our office was on the phone, and normally I just walk in and wait for him to finish, but he did something uncharacteristic. He held up a finger and wagged it at me silently and made very meaningful eye contact. So I was like, okay, something's going on. They didn't, his kids, none of his family lived near here. And so they had to jump on a plane. And something I noticed about this area that is another difference between where I'm from is that there are not many funeral homes. I don't know if where you're from is like this, but there's a funeral home on pretty much every block in Jellicoe.
There's usually one in every town, and then in the county seat, there's several.
Oh yeah, hell, Jellicoe. There was 6 or 7, and I didn't know that that was weird until I went somewhere else. Of course, this place is also a lot younger than Jellicoe was. But anyway, all this to say is that they couldn't find anywhere to host like a receiving friends. And so we offered them the big ballroom in the student center. They said any staff wanted to come and pay respects were welcome too. And so I went by. Apparently they had decided that it was a Hawaiian shirt themed affair because I was worried about being underdressed because I wasn't staying. I was just going to go by. So I had on just a normal shirt and I walked in and it was the whole extended family, but half the school was there too. Like the vice chancellor, the public safety office, like faculty, staffs. It was really interesting. First of all, it's kind of redneck to host a receiving friends at the person's workplace, you know?
Right.
That to me is very like, that is very blue collar. Then to just, there weren't sermons, right? There wasn't, and fire and brimstone and that kind of things. Cause we have to kind of tolerate that just about every service back home.
Yeah, Appalachian funerals are a whole other.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a non-Appalachian funeral when COVID basically started. It was the wildest thing that I've ever been to in my life, and it was in Chicago.
They had the features of it. They, I think it's become customary to do the slideshow with music behind it now. So they did that, but seeing everybody turn out like that and then doing something just really weird. This is a very like not proper thing to do. It just seemed really redneck to me, right? This is what we have available. This is what we have at our disposal, and we're going to make this work. We made a little taco buffet. You know what it's like to get catering at a university in the summertime on short notice, and they showed up with a taco bar.
Oh, wow.
They were like, this is what we found. Is this okay? And they had pulled out, the family had, I guess, got together and gotten all this memorabilia of his life. And they had put those 8-foot tables, bunch of them end to end, and just put this kind of like collage of his life out. And I learned stuff about him too, because I saw like what I thought was police uniform. I guess it was technically. And I was like, okay, I knew his ex-military, and it's common for them to become cops later. And then I looked at it and I was like, what kind of badge is that? And he was not just a cop. He was a hostage negotiator.
Oh, wow.
It's not like I thought I knew him really well because I haven't been here that long, but I was just really struck by how deep people's histories can be.
Yeah.
And to have that experience in this place, it felt very like familiar. And I'm so also just relieved to find out that this is a place that can do that kind of thing for people who are in need. Like, okay,
right.
we need something quick. We need something weird. All right, we'll see what we got. You want to have it in the ballroom?
Have you ever been to any like really weird funerals or anything like that, like Appalachian?
Weird funerals. Well, I guess kind of we alluded to this already, but they're all a little bit off. But by most of the funerals I have been to for my family anyway have been strange because my grandmother owns the cemetery, and it's on the mountainside that we lived on that has the gas mine on it. And we used to play soccer in that. We would use the headstones as people. This is horrible. I know it's wrong now. I didn't at the time. And so since then, we've buried multiple people there. My brother is one of them because we didn't have anywhere to bury a 25-year-old.
Right. Yeah, my brother's in what's called the Big Run Cemetery, which is way up on a hill, and it's filled with my great grandparents and people like that, all the same last name that I have. My family tree is more of a 2x4 instead of any branching or anything like that. So that whole cemetery up there, the whole road I'm related to.
I think military funerals do bother me. The just weighty significance and pageantry of them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, since every male in my family served, they're all like that so far. The 21 gun salute is so unnecessary. Have you been in
Oh my
one
God. Yeah, my dad was also a veteran.
What is that for?
Like you said, it's pageantry, 100%.
Yeah.
The weirdest funeral I went to was on it was a guy, he used to be a softball coach, and he had his funeral on the softball field.
Okay.
In West Virginia. Yeah. That's what he wanted.
Man,
That's what his wife did.
talk about being buried at work.
Well, then his funeral, where we actually buried him, was way out in a holler, and you had to cross I had to cross a creek it pulled out something on the bottom of my car. I don't remember now what it was, like the muffler maybe. But yeah, I was driving a Hyundai Accent at the time. It was small, but it still shouldn't have bottomed out just trying to drive down the road. But it did.
Yeah, the getting up to that mountainside to bury somebody was interesting too.
Imagine driving a 5. Did you ever drive a 5-speed in the mountains?
Yeah, that's all I drove.
Oh, well then I was so glad to get a regular automatic car. I
I
drove a 5-speed for 10 years and was done.
I still have a 5-speed.
Oh, bless your loving heart. I love cruise control too much.
Oh no, I got cruise control. You can They're fancier now. You can't get automatic start because it just doesn't work.
Obviously, right?
Yeah. But I go out of my way to get a 5. This is actually a 6-speed because it's got overdrive. But I think it is because I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I have this fear. I actually have nightmares about driving automatics because I have this fear that they're going to do something I didn't tell them to do. I don't like that feeling of taking your foot off of the brake and the thing starts driving. Like I didn't say start driving. I said no more brake. I don't, that feeling just creeps me out a little bit.
I think I drove your car one time. You had left it parked at my house or somewhere for some reason. And I think I drove your car, the little green cube one. Yeah, I drove it. That's the last time I drove a 5-speed.
That was Green Lantern. Yeah. I still drove that car when I moved to Carbondale and it got swiped I got hit in a flash flood.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That car, it didn't even have 50,000 miles on it. I'd have still been driving that thing.
We bought my car with 94,000 miles on it.
Yeah. Do you name your vehicles?
We're still looking. Yeah, there's been Carla, my purple my purple Hyundai Accent was Hollywood. I had one named Chico Ray. Chico because it was little and Ray was the license plate. And we're looking for the right name for the car that we have now, but we haven't found it yet. So yeah, if you have suggestions, I'm open.
It has to, I guess, come to you. I named my Subi on the drive up here because I drove from Kentucky to western Minnesota with 4 cats in the car. It took 4 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I camped with them. It was pretty incredible. So it says Subaru on the window, but on the inside backwards it says you're a bus. And so I stared at that for 4 days. And so I named the car Buster after that.
Oh, that's cute.
We need to ask some help from the listeners. We need some assistance replenishing the wheel of what have you. I have been perhaps a little too laissez-faire with throwing stuff on there that turns out to not really be a thing. And I take things off after we hit on them. So if you have an idea for a topic of discussion to go on the wheel of what have you, why don't you comment? You can comment on the episode on Spotify. You can do that now, or leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and tell us who your first gay TV crush was, and then give us a suggestion to put on the wheel of what have you. If you do that, we'll shout you out. But I'm going to give this thing a spin now and see what we land on, see what's left. The weather.
Is that like it's a raining men situation, or?
It can be.
That just sounds messy to me.
In many ways too. Like the messy it could be that's pretty varied, right?
Right.
For somebody who likes the idea, it's fun kind of messy. But for somebody with my imaginations, it's gore.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have people like have fence posts through their bellies and have them gored all over the place.
Landing like splay-legged on the spine of the house. Well, so where we'll be saying Kentucky is that if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I know a lot of places think that they have unpredictable weather. So for instance, here in Minnesota, they believe that they have unpredictable weather. And I find it very predictable. It's just predictably awful, you know? Like, there's no mystery involved in the weather here. You know it's going to be awful. So I don't find
it's going to be cold here.
Yeah, right. It's same thing in Northwest Ohio. It's like, okay, what season is it? Okay, I know what temperature it's going to be outside. It'll vary a little bit here. They had an adorable little heat warning the other day. Again.
For how high?
I believe it was 93. I don't mean to just fully mock them because I know why they do it. It's because they're not used to humidity here. And we had the corn sweat. So
we're dealing with the corn sweat now.
This is my first time ever learning about corn sweat.
My apartment complex butts up right against a cornfield. Like, the corn sweats are real.
Is it every year or is this the first year?
Oh, no, it's every year.
And I've lived around corn, but it like down in Tennessee and Kentucky, it's already humid. So I don't think maybe that short circuits it. But yeah, listeners, if you don't know about the corn sweat, it is a phenomenon around large farms, agribusiness generally, that produces corn. And a certain time of the year, if it reaches a certain temperature, the moisture in the corn sweats and causes a massive humidity spike.
It's like trying to breathe through a straw.
Yes, it was. It was pretty, because it's, I've experienced humidity before, but it was real interesting. It was like, it's suddenly, for a place that is not humid, to have that difference. And I can tell you too, like the buildings, they're not used to humidity. And so it gets inside them and it can't go anywhere. And my house was like a pressure cooker. So it wasn't that hot, but I think that probably coincided with whatever the humidity, the corn sweat was.
Right. It'll get you.
It about did. It was disgusting. But I have also people, I don't know, have you ever lived somewhere dry? I guess it's kind of dry up in Northwest Ohio.
We're literally in a place with water in the name.
Swamp.
I'm surrounded by it.
Are you in the swamp? Is that Toledo?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the Black Swamp area.
Yeah.
The Firelands.
Well, yeah, in Minnesota is the land of 1,000, 10,000 ponds. Some of them are lakes, most of them are ponds. This one outside my house is not even a mile across.
Hey, that's a good lake.
It's picturesque, I suppose.
Not every lake is meant to be boated.
No, they do, though. They get out on it. It's 9 foot at the deepest, but they be out on it. I was like, what's going to happen?
My wife wanted to go to a quarry to go swimming, and so I did some research, and apparently quarries have a lot of water snakes, and I was like, nope, ain't doing that. Did you know that you can rent people's pools at their houses? That's a thing.
Is it like Airbnb, but for pools?
Yeah, you can rent it by the hour.
Holy shit.
So we're going to do that and rent somebody's pool for a couple of hours and go swimming.
That's incredible. What will they think of next?
It's amazing.
I mean, that's gigging, What do I have that somebody else might want?
Yep. Well, they're right. I don't want to take my big ass in front of, everybody. I'm just not comfortable, parading around. I'm a very cover me up kind of person. I don't ever show my cleavage or anything like that. To be in a bathing suit makes me feel very vulnerable.
I was like that until very recently. And now, like this morning, I just about went outside to take the trash out with darn near nothing on. And I had to stop and be like, put a shirt on.
I think it's so weird that guys are allowed to walk around with no shirts on, but girls are not.
It takes some getting used to, though. Like,
yeah.
Because after top surgery, I remember because I know guys, especially like young guys, after they get top surgery, you can't pay them to put a shirt on. And I was not like that. I was very much like, I don't know if it was self-consciousness or just habit.
It's like, I only live like 200 miles from West Virginia, but we are consistently 15 to 20 degrees cooler than they are.
Really?
Summer, fall, yeah, always. And it's, I know it's the difference in latitude and elevation or longitude or whichever.
It doesn't seem like it would be that much.
No, but 15, like it'll be 85 here and it'll be 93 there. Or anywhere from 10 to 15 is what it usually is. I've been watching that for 13 years now, I
remember loving going outside in the rain. Like rain in general I think a lot of people, or it could be cultures for all I know, romanticize like the rain especially.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's even a country song called "I Love a Rainy Night." Do you know that song by Eddie Rabbit?
I don't know a lot about country, but there's I know there's a lot of songs about rain though, right? Don't the Rednecks have one? Here Comes the Rain Again. Missy Elliott has one.
Oh, yes.
But it's a little like being undercover if you go out in the rain. But it also, I think it feels very rebellious because rain is pretty dangerous to people whose body temperature really shouldn't be changing. Like we could die of hypothermia just being out in the rain at the wrong time of day. Are there country songs about other weather phenomena though? Like are there songs?
I'm sure.
Are there songs about hurricanes or derechos?
What's the one? Garth Brooks has one where it's storming and the rain keeps closing in. And the Thunder Rolls by Garth Brooks.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I had to sing the whole song in my head to get to the title.
It's like trying to alphabetize something. You have to do the whole alphabet.
Yeah, definitely.
Like when I think back on or when I try to put things in the context of Appalachia, most of the time it goes back to childhood experiences, because that was when that experience was most acute for me, because of where I lived was so isolated. And so, like, I guess the most extreme version of anything I think of along those lines is going to be from living down in Jellicoe. But the thing with the weather is that it really limited your movements. So because the like adults, they put us outside all day long for our own good. And so if we were trapped inside, something was going down. Some shit was going to happen.
See, I was a reader, so I would voluntarily go in a corner and spend my day reading as much as possible. That was my whole life when I was a kid. My mom was fine with that because my brother was very rough. My brother was of the mind, he would do things like, you talked about breaking into a house with your brother. My brother would make me go first through the window so that I would get in trouble too if I told mom. Like, that's the way my brother thought. Like, if I went along with him, I couldn't get him in trouble. So we did some of those kinds of activities and that kind of thing. And then after some really bad stuff went down, I basically moved in with my grandmother and I stayed there with her all the time. And I got to watch a lot of TV and order a lot of Domino's pizza. The most weather related scar that I have from Appalachia is definitely the snow, because we lived on a run, not a holler. A run is a holler with a body of water attached to it, like a creek. And to get on our hill, you had to go over a bridge up a hill and then make a sharp left at the top and then go further out. And anytime my parents didn't get four-wheel drive until well after I left house. They didn't have a four-wheeler or anything like that. So anytime it would snow, and the way the water would roll down, because we lived right on the side of a hill. And so the water, when it would rain or it would snow and then melt, that water would come running down and it would go straight down the driveway, and a patch of ice would form at the very top where it would pool there. So even if there was no snow, sometimes you couldn't get up the driveway because you couldn't get over the ice patch. So I have walked that hill more times than I would ever care to count. And it really scarred me against snow, because you'd have to carry the groceries up. You know what I mean? Heaven forbid you make 2 trips.
I know. That has to be avoided at all costs.
Yeah.
I remember learning about global warming. That's what they called it when we were kids. I used to be scared of the news. I still, I mean, there's not a lot of reasons to love the news these days, but this has always been a thing for me. The nightly news would come on and I would go hide in my room and to try not to hear it because of how scary everything was on it. Because it was the melting ice caps, the hole in the ozone layer. It was AIDS. It was the Cold War, like, the Berlin Wall coming down and shit like that. And then we're right back into a fucking war with Iraq in 91. And so it was just like nonstop tension for me. And I became obsessed with rain. And I had this, OCD is crazy, y'all, because you will know something like deep down in your bones, you will know something, and you will also know that thing is bullshit. And knowing those two things at the same time will drive you nuts. So I knew that any day a big wave was going to come crashing over the mountains into my holler and drown us all.
Oh.
Anytime it would rain, I would just sit there and wait.
Oh.
Like, that's it. The ice caps have melted. And I made a broom handle, put a nail on the end of it, and I would go out and pick up all the trash I could find, because I was trying to stop I guess in my mind it was a moral issue. If you picked up trash, it might spare me. So like that was I think the first like real obsession compulsion that ruled my life. And I was so young. I was like 4.
What's the first news story that you remember?
The Challenger exploding.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. That was the day my dad had been stationed in South Carolina. South Carolina. I can't remember. I guess his time in the military was up, and we were moving back to Jellicoe. And I remember that day we were either returning something we had rented or selling an appliance to a store. And I remember wheeling it in there, and those big displays of all the TVs in the windows.
Right.
It was showing that explosion over and over again. And so it was like a wall of 20 Challengers exploding on the loop, and I just remember standing there staring at it. So that would have been 86. What about you?
Baby Jessica and the Whale.
Oh yeah, I remember that one too. That was after we moved back to Jellicoe.
Yeah, which I find surprising that I don't remember anything earlier than that, because I have an excellent memory. I have memories that happened in my personal life at like 3 years old, very vivid. But of the world. Maybe I was just shielded from it. I don't know. But I don't have, because I think Baby Jessica was around the same time, 86, 87, that general time frame.
Yeah, it could be. Okay, I'm just gonna Google it.
Some of our listeners might not know who Baby Jessica. What happened was a baby was not a baby. How old was she? Like,
just 2.
Yeah, she was a toddler, was playing in her backyard, and she fell down in a hole that was a well. And it took, I think, 2 days and a lot of earth moving equipment to get her out safely.
Yeah, in Texas, an 18-month-old named Jessica fell down into a well in 1987. It was October 14th in her aunt's backyard in Texas. I'm trying to find how long it took them. This doesn't say. But yeah, it took, I mean, they had oilers, drillers, like scientists, rescue teams and stuff. Like all these people spent days at least. And this, I think, was also like maybe an early instance of a 24-hour news cycle. It was like,
Right.
I remember when they pulled her out.
And it was really the beginning, I think, of sensationalism. Not that the news wasn't always sensationalized, from the time that we had news media. But like you said, we had the 24-hour news cycle new with like CNN and things like that. So they would take the simplest story and really blow it out of proportion. And I think you're right. I think Baby Jessica was one of the first ones to really suffer because of that.
Yeah. And there's a section here called Aftermath that I'm just not gonna read that because I don't want to know what happened to this poor woman when she became grown up like Jessica. But yeah, that was also terrifying, right? This baby is stuck down in the well.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a proponent of, not letting your kids be exposed to anything. I know that there's some folks that go real overboard out there with limiting screen time and stuff, and you do you, right? Parent however.
But if you have a gaping hole in your area, maybe don't let your toddler toddle around it. I mean, I've never had kids, so maybe I'm not an expert on this, but
But also just with letting them be exposed to the news, the way the news is presented, it is sensationalized now.
Yeah. And half of it's advertising anyway.
Well, now it can be flat out lies.
Yeah.
Because somebody discovered a loophole that is actually genius, which is that it doesn't have to be news to be called news. You can simply name it news, and now it's the news. But so like Fox News is the FCC classification is entertainment because they don't meet that minimum fact-checking threshold.
They said in their own filing that basically, like, they don't expect anyone to take them seriously. That's what they said.
Murdoch said that under oath.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to be a fool to believe anything on Fox News is true. So yeah, that's where we are now. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the weather. Maybe it's time to hear from our sponsor. Our sponsor this week is pleather cigarette pouch with fake brass clasp on top. Few things signify consistency, security, and confidence like these indispensable accoutrements. These items boast a functionally ornamental faux brass clasp and are contractually obligated to contain at least one Virginia Slim at all times. The air of mystique commanded by the owner of a pleather cigarette pouch is immeasurable. The favorite signature piece of every woman of a certain age in the holler, this unconvincing clutch whispers, "I've never had a checking account and I absolutely will light up in the middle of this food line." It's perfect for when you hope people think you have a motorcycle or at least a mood ring. Fake leather cigarette pouch is dependable, voluminous, full of loose change, and sprinkles flakes of its coating on the arm of whatever chair you sit in like fancy dandruff. As an heirloom, this illegitimate illusion is a queer Appalachian starter kit. Unasked for, but wired so deep into our memories of home, the sight of it can calm the nerves, no need to even light up. My own mother's was handed down to her through her mother's side. No one is sure who did the hot gluing, though. Act now in our end of summer sale and get the item that says, "I've never paid retail and I never will." Use the promo code QueerNecks for a free bingo dauber attachment. This episode of Queer Necks is sponsored by Pleather Cigarette Pouch.
My mom had one, not pleather. Hers was not bedazzled. It was like this chainmail kind of material. They were kind of like sequins.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mom always had the black with the gold reverse side.
My mom, hers was, I think it was real leather and it was embroidered, but it was hot glued together.
That's hilarious.
I loved that thing. It's no wonder we all became smokers. They made it look so damn cool.
Right? I literally started smoking when I was 16 because everybody else got a smoke break at work and I didn't.
Yes, I know, me too. I was working at McDonald's and you didn't get a break if you didn't smoke.
Yeah. I worked at a place called Fazoli's. I had one friend that was smarter than me, apparently, and she would take a cheesecake break every night. But she was a tiny little thing, so she could do it. But instead of taking a smoke break, she would take a 10-minute cheesecake break. And they let her do it, so.
Because you're by law, well, actually, I don't know back then if it was what the labor laws were.
I had a paper route, and a girl that I had class with, I was probably 10, this girl that was in my class was on the paper route, and I came into her house that day, and she was like, do you want to try a cigarette? And I was like, yes. So we tried a cigarette, and it was gross. And then I thought, the genius that I was as a child, thought that my mom would smell it on me, even though she smoked 2 packs a day herself, and she would never have noticed the smell of a cigarette on me. I decided that I needed to brush my teeth, and I used somebody at her house's toothbrush.
Oh. And aren't you allergic to mint?
That didn't start until I was in my 20s. I was around 28 when that started. So it was a later in life acquisition.
That terrifies me about allergies. They can do that. They can just show up.
Yeah. My mom was allergic to it too, so it wasn't really out of the blue, but my mom's allergic to some really weird things, or she was. My brother, his weirdest allergy, he couldn't go, if he would, on a really hot summer day, if he were sweating and would jump into an ice cold pool, he would break out in hives. He couldn't go from hot to cold or cold to hot without breaking out in hives.
Well, my brother was also allergic to everything. He had pneumonia many times before he was a year old. He just was allergic to the earth. Mom, she tells us a story. She would sleep in the hallway with him in his car seat to try to keep him from drowning in his phlegm.
Aww.
And he stayed real sickly and small for a long time. He was highly reactive to things that normal people might be reactive to. So poison ivy, right? The average person is likely to get the blisters from poison ivy, but he didn't have to touch it. He could walk past it. It would be aerosolized because it perspires into the air. Maybe these were invented at this time. I don't know how far back this treatment goes, but he started getting allergy shots because they did one of those scratch tests, and he was so skinny. They do it all on your back, and then they had to move to the back of his thighs, go down his legs to get the whole test done, and he come up 90% reactive.
Oh, wow.
It was a terrifying level of allergic to the entire world. And so he got these allergy shots 2 times a week for years, I think.
Wow.
He still struggled with it. So he has this story talking to smoking. When he was in AIT, before he shipped out to Iraq for the first time, they do 2 weeks in the field, I guess. So somebody was on fire duty and didn't know what poison ivy was, and they threw poison ivy on the fire.
Ooh.
It aerosolized the oil, and he breathed it in, and he had poison ivy in his lungs.
Oh, man.
And he said that the military doctor was like, I have never seen such, and he prescribed him menthol cigarettes.
Well, Lord.
He was like, maybe it'll help. That just sounds, I don't know.
That's about as redneck as it gets.
He's a real redneck. And to think that there's not an actual treatment, today they'd probably give you a vaporizer or something.
Or a breathing treatment or something. Wow. Well, that's I guess no different than my grandpa. He used to keep a quart of whiskey beside his chair for when he had heart pains.
Oh, well, I guess it does thin the blood.
Yep, that's what he said. That's the only time he ever took a swig.
Yeah. Well, my papa, he survived his first heart attack because he thought he had a muscle spasm. And so he took a bunch of aspirin and it thinned his blood.
That's what ended up taking my papa too.
There's data that poor teeth health causes heart disease.
You mean your luxury bones? Somebody's someday going to have to really sit me down and explain it like I'm 5, why we need different insurance for our teeth and our eyes.
They're not, they don't belong to somebody else, right? It's not
exactly.
Like it's my pet. It's the same body.
Yeah. And like you said, there's all kinds of correlation, and you could die from a toothache. Mm-hmm. Lots of people have died from toothaches over the years, and you get one that's infected or whatever, that could go straight to your brain. It's dangerous. There's no reason. And the last time I was at the dentist, which was just a couple of weeks ago, I've maxed out my dental insurance for the year already. And she was like, well, that's pretty much just like a coupon anyway. She said they haven't updated the laws regarding dental insurance since 1975.
Wow. What a weird thing to just throw up our hands and not give a shit about.
Well, because rich people can afford it.
Yeah, they can just go and pay to get new teeth. I am just a privileged motherfucker when it comes to teeth.
I am not.
Yeah, I inherited a good set. and I really abuse that privilege. So it has been years since I've gone to the dentist. I brush once a day. I never floss.
I've had 2 root canals this summer.
Oh shit!
When I was a kid, I had seizures. They were febrile seizures, and I was on phenobarbital, which they won't give to kids under the age of 13 now because of what it will do.
Because they shouldn't.
Well, it left calcium deposits in my teeth. I had big brown stains on my permanent teeth when they grew in from the phenobarbital. So I had to get veneers to cover it, and I've had veneers since I was like 7 or 8 years old.
I didn't know you had veneers.
Yep, the three front teeth are all fake.
Yeah, it was just the Wild West of parenting back then. And doctors, too. Like, we're not talking about the shit parents would do just because they were trying their best.
Putting a medallion with earthworms in it or something around your neck.
Yeah, I had warts for a while. I had plantar warts on my feet. My mom would wet an aspirin and tape it to the wart. The aspirin was supposed to eat the wart. It just ate a hole in the toe, and then the wart grew back.
That sounds painful.
I remember it being unpleasant, yeah. Oh, my God. What was the dumbest injury you got? Like, just redneck shit injury.
Probably when I almost had my arm ripped off by a boat.
Sounds pretty red.
We were on a lake on my parents' pontoon boat. It was July 4th weekend. We had a canvas-covered inner tube that we were dragging behind the boat where you just get on it and they try to flop you off of it or whatever. And in a move now called the Becky, my dad would slow down a lot and then kind of turn, and then he would floor it, and that would like make the rope really tall and like almost toss you off of it. So he tried that with me, and this was at my thinnest, so it wasn't a weight issue. But the material for the canvas-covered inner tube came loose, and when I hit the water, I basically got my arm wrapped up in the ropes, and I got dragged down the lake about 40 feet by my arm. I do not recommend that, like, at all.
Did it? I mean,
0 stars.
Did you have a serious injury, or was it like a miraculous escape?
A miraculous escape. You could still see the line where the ropes were on my arm. And it tore, like, I've got some saggy skin under there. There's some, like, drooping where there were some muscles torn.
Oh, wow.
But for the most part, my arm was green and black for a year. It took a full year for it to heal.
And you didn't go to the doctor or anything?
When it happened, we went immediately to the emergency room, and they put me in a sling. There wasn't really much else that could be done without insurance. Certainly, that's when I was working at the photo studio, and I certainly didn't have insurance then. I was driving a stick when that happened, and it was my right arm. That sucked.
I had a lot of dumb ones, but I remember we were tearing down a barn, and I was walking around. Did you know those like little white canvas shoes that girls were wearing all back in the...
Kids.
Well, mine were knockoffs. It was just a thin rubber sole and then a canvas top.
Yeah.
So that's what I was wearing out there tearing down this barn. Naturally, I stepped on a plank that had probably a carpenter nail. So those are about 4 inches?
Right.
I stepped on it with those shoes on, and so it went all the way through. It came out the top of that shoe. The blood started just soaking this white canvas shoe. I'm sure I started screaming or something, but I don't remember this. But I remember somebody, I think it was Kathy, the mom of these kids we were hanging out with, coming, and she was trying to tell me not to do what I was about to do, which was rip the thing out. And so I pulled it out of my foot, and blood literally squirted.
Oh, man.
But you know what they did is they took me inside and they poured wintergreen alcohol on it.
Ah!
I mean, maybe we went to the doctor later. Maybe I got some tetanus shots at some point, but all I remember is that wintergreen alcohol being poured on that. This is a puncture wound straight through my foot.
Oh, man.
And it was like 98% guaranteed to happen. So what was I even doing out there wearing those shoes? I probably snuck out there. I don't think anybody would have let me.
Right.
I ruined somebody's day.
One time I was babysitting my niece. She was probably 7 or 8 at the time. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, and we were going to go to the movies. So we go out on the porch, and this feral, tiny baby kitten, you didn't see cats or anything like that on the hill ever because of the dogs. But this baby kitten was on the porch, and when I opened the door, it ran in the house. And so I was like, y'all go ahead, I'll grab the kitten, And so I did, and I grabbed it by the scruff of the neck. And so every cat I've ever had has been fairly domesticated. So when you would grab it by the scruff of the neck, it would basically become docile. Wild cats don't necessarily do that. They freak out and try to bite you. And this cat, flipped around and it bit me in the hand, square right between my index and my middle finger. Got both teeth in me. And we ended up getting the cat out, and I went to the hospital, and they basically wiped it off with alcohol and sent me on my way. And so we went to the movies, and my hand kept turning, started hurting more and swelling, and then it started turning black. and I ended up going to the emergency room. Because I didn't have insurance, they had me come back every day for a week to get an IV drip. It was St. Mary's in Huntington, West Virginia, because they were religious based, I guess. I don't know. Another ER would have done that for me, but they did. I came in every day for a week, and they didn't even charge me. I didn't have Medicaid or anything, and that's how we saved my hand.
That is basically what happened to my hand back in April. One of my cats, though. So this house, I don't know how fancy shit works, and so these are real windows, and they have these ropes, and you raise them up, and the ropes are on a pulley system, and they keep the thing suspended, right?
Right.
These windows in the dining room, those ropes are cut, and I didn't know. I mean, I knew they were cut, but I didn't know that that's what they did. And so I opened the window, and it had swelled or something. And so it just kind of stuck. And so it stayed there on its own for a minute. I thought that was it. I was getting ready to go to work, and I came downstairs, and I hear this like really loud slapping sound. And then my cat Ziggy just screeching for her life. And I look over, and it has fallen, and she had been in the window, and she almost got away, but it got her back, one of her back legs.
Oh.
So she was hanging from this foot that I went to, for whatever reason, I tried to grab the handle of the thing instead of the window and raise it up instead of get the top of it. And she latched onto me, and she bit straight through my hand twice.
Oh, wow.
And one of them was on the like meaty part of the thumb, so it wasn't as bad, but she got one bite. She got her teeth under the veins, and we're just like putting somebody into hysterics right now with these stories. If you're not an Appalachian, this is what we do, right? We trade war stories every so often. And I don't even know how we got here, but I'll cut that short. But just suffice it to say, I was in the hospital for 2 days getting IV antibiotics. I got antibiotics in my butt cheeks. I had to take them orally, and it was dreadful.
Yeah. It's the last time I had to get a tetanus shot, knock on wood.
Well, I think you're supposed to get a booster every 10 years.
Yeah, well, no thank you.
You don't like shots?
I'm not a big fan of extra things like that. I'll get my boosters, like my flu shot and my COVID boosters and things like that. I have no problem with that. But to go for extra shots, I don't know. It's not my thing.
I was real nervous about having to give myself an intramuscular injection every week. I thought, okay, this is really it. Like if I know that I really want to transition if I can do this. And I got used to it. I still don't love it, but it's ever how many years later.
Yeah, I give myself an insulin shot every night, but it's from a pen. It's a lot different. It's not like it has a little needle cap that goes on top, and then you dial out the right amount of medicine, and then you put the needle in, push it down, push the plunger down, and it all comes out. So you really don't see anything, and the needles are so thin that you don't really feel anything.
Yeah, no, not these. Well, after we have made everybody with a needle phobia turn off, how about we hear about this week's noun of Appalachian interest?
All right. Welcome back to Nouns of Appalachian Interest, the segment where nouns are usually simple, but the meanings are layered like a good 7-bean casserole. Today's noun, Dolly freaking Parton. That's it. That's the noun. Born in a one-room cabin in Sevier County, Tennessee, with a tin roof and no running water, Dolly Parton came from what she lovingly calls dirt-poor roots. And somehow, without ever giving up the twang, the glitter, or the acrylic nails, she became a global legend, a philanthropist, and a queer Appalachian North Star. Now, let's be clear, Dolly is more than rhinestones and big hair, though, let's be honest, those rhinestones could guide a lost coal train home on a foggy night. She's a master songwriter, a savvy businesswoman, and a quiet revolutionary. She snuck feminist theory into 9 to 5, built a literacy empire with Imagination Library, and funded vaccine research while the rest of us were just trying not to cry in the Kroger parking lot. And Dolly's queerness? No, she's not queer herself, though I wouldn't rule out a spectacularly queer past life, but she's queer kin. She's what you call camp and comfort, sparkle and sanctuary. She exists somewhere between a drag persona and a Pentecostal hymn. Dolly walks into a room and every closeted kid within a 3-mile radius suddenly breathes easier, like, oh, maybe I can shine like that too. In Appalachia, she's our proof that you can come from a holler and still be heavenly, that you can love your people and want more, that you can wear sequins in the daylight and still know how to fry cornbread in the bacon grease. And perhaps most importantly, she's a reminder that radical kindness isn't weakness, it's strategy, it's survival, it's sparkle with substance. So today's noun, Dolly Parton, isn't just a person, she's a verb, A light, a glittery compass pointing us all towards something freer, funnier, and fiercely rooted in love.
Yes. Give Dolly all of the flowers and props.
She's like a sacred being.
Yeah, she is. You're talking about 9 to 5 and its feminist messaging. It was also a subtle but very clear critique of capitalism.
Right. Yeah, she's always been, for a long time, she was the butt of a lot of cultural jokes because she had big boobs and a big blonde wig, but she owned that in a way that I don't think anybody else could have. And all the while she was letting people have their fun, she was collecting her coins.
Uh-huh.
Like she has, I read something one time about how she paid for a bunch of black high schools their band marching uniforms.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I know that a lot of people who have funds to dispense with have strategies for their philanthropy. But hers,
like her Dollywood, basically made that theme park so that her hometown would have jobs.
oh yeah, and income. Like, this is an economy.
Yeah.
And Dollywood and Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, that whole little trifecta there, that is a huge amount of Tennessee's economy.
Yeah. Everybody I know has been to Gatlinburg at least once.
Yeah, I went before I moved up to go to the PhD program, actually. I went down there to a cabin in the Smokies.
Yeah.
And listeners, if you have that opportunity, listen, Tennessee has its problems. There's plenty of shit to criticize and not enjoy about Tennessee, but the hills, the Smokies, you will never see anything else like it. And there's weirdly affordable cabins in nooks and crannies all up and down those mountains that you can rent out, I think even on Airbnb for just a weekend. At night, you won't believe what happens in those mountains. I've tried to describe it before, and it's just indescribable.
Right. Some of the noises you hear, you mean, like the frogs and the cicadas and
the noises and what happens to your spatial awareness, because they're on the side of a mountain, but because it's of the way the Appalachians are shaped and the way, the Smokies anyway are shaped, that you're on a cliffside, but there's kind of a cascade to it. And so there are levels. And so you're up in the middle of the clouds, but then there is another place across from you. And so if like, say, a light shines on you, it projects a 500-foot tall shadow of you onto the opposing ridge. And I was like, this is weird. This cabin has a weird feature. Every time I've been there, it's been like that because just of how far apart things are there and how the light travels, or the way, they're called the Smokies because of the moisture in the air. It does things to the light. And so it really felt like I was on another planet. I felt like a god. It was so cool. Brisket has come to say hello, everybody.
As has Wenda.
Well, maybe it's time to wrap up this episode. What should we say to the folks before we go?
Be good or be good at it.
Right. And if you can't do that, don't get caught. Help us replenish the wheel of what have you. We didn't really know that this was going to become a thing, so I wasn't super serious about the stuff I put on that wheel. So now that people are listening, maybe we should try a little harder. So yeah, give us a 5-star review on wherever you listen, and leave us a comment and tell us something to put on the wheel. Be excellent to each other.
Yes, be excellent to each other. There's something strange afoot at the Circle K. Every time I see a Circle K, I think of that.
And yeah, and when I heard that, I was like, that is almost always true, though. You could say that at any given time.
I had never even heard of Circle K when I first saw that movie. They're everywhere up here. Does the K stand for Kentucky?
I don't think so. In Kentucky, it was Circle K and Speedway.
They're getting a lot of Sheetz up here. Oh, you don't know about Sheetz? Sheetz isn't just a gas station. It is basically a full to-order restaurant. You can get all kinds of, you can get cheeseburgers, you can get hot dogs, you can get all that kind of stuff made to order. Gas is usually cheaper at Sheetz than anywhere else around by a lot. Gas was $3.29 at Kroger the other day, and it was $2.37 at Sheetz.
So this is kind of like a Buc-ee's.
Kinda, but not as
merchandise.
Not as big. Yeah. Yeah, there's no T-shirts inside of that I know of. I've never seen T-shirts, but you see people wearing Buc-ee's T-shirts and things like that. There's no Sheetz nuggets, anything like that. There's no brisket being cooked.
Well, if you can't think of anything to put on the wheel of what have you, tell us what your favorite local gas station is. We just want to hear about y'all's weird corners of the world, too.
Amen.
Well, let me let you go.
Don't rush off.
Say hi to your mom and them.